We are live, ladies and gentlemen. We are live. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Thursday night football edition, pregame views from the 22 right here on the scene. We got a good show planned for y'all. We got the usual suspects on the line. Germ So True, Vic Jr., Mo Schefter. You got the film over feelings. I know Vic is wearing that trap. Germ got the hungry, humble hustle. Shout out to Mr. and Mrs. Myron Jenkins. If you need any of these products, you can either visit the Views from the 22 website or hit one of us up or directly contact Myron Jenkins. Now, let's get into the show. Obviously, we got the Bucs and the Bears tonight. We got Nick Foles versus Tom Brady. And the only reason that's even a thing is because of it's a rematch essentially with these two quarterbacks from Super Bowl 52, which never would have been a thing had Bill Belichick not benched Malcolm Butler. But we're going to leave that for a different story, for a different day, because we got a lot to cover tonight. Let's start with the COVID updates before we move into the Bears Bucks game, because we certainly got a lot to cover on that game because it's a great matchup. The latest with the COVID now, unfortunately, it has affected the NFL season. We're in week 5 now, and we're about 3 straight weeks um, of positive tests that are significant, I would say. Started with AJ Terrell, the rookie for the Falcons, and I'm just saying significant because obviously we had guys week 1 and week 2, but it didn't really become a thing until week 3, and then obviously we had week 4 where we had the first game postponed, maybe canceled. We'll see. No, postponed rather. I'm sorry, postponed because Steelers Titans is going to be in week 7, week 8. But we had the first game postponed, and then we had the Patriots game, Chiefs game that was postponed as well to the next day. Where we're standing right now, Cam Newton is feeling better, not very much symptoms, if any at all. So that's good news on that front. And now with the Patriots game being pushed to Monday, I'm not a medical expert, but it gives a greater chance for Cam Newton to start on Monday, given the test results that come in on Saturday. But the reason that game was moved is because Stephon Gilmore, Defensive Player of the Year, got tested and he was tested positive for the virus. So that's the reason that game was pushed back. You got the Raiders who had that event and they weren't wearing their masks, and you had a few players get infected there. I believe it was only one. So that's something to keep an eye on to see if anybody else, if there's an outbreak that happens with the Raiders, that is going to be significant. Um, and then obviously the team who's at the center of this, sort of like the Miami Marlins and the St. Louis Cardinals were in baseball, it's the Tennessee Titans in football. They the ones they violated protocol. They were reckless and negligent with what they were supposed to do, not wearing their masks properly. And then also after the outbreak happened, they had a workout off site with teammates. And worst of all, Ryan Tannehill was part of that workout. So the Titans right now are it's not if they're gonna get punished, is when the punishment is gonna come down on them. And as I said in our Facebook group, Views from the 22, join us. As I said in our Facebook group, this is not from anything that I read. I'm just expecting a Spygate type of punishment for the Tennessee Titans, a loss of draft picks, a forfeit of a game, and perhaps even like $1 million fine at least. Probably $1 million fine to the organization. Probably like $500,000 fine for Mike Vrabel. And I'm sure the players might even get fined. Although I don't know if you can fine the players for that, but that's between the NFL and the NFLPA. Bottom line is, and this is my ultimate point before we jump into the game. Bottom line is, fellas, both the NFL and the NFLPA should be blamed for this. There is nobody that we can't point the fingers at any one person because everybody is to blame. Because on the one hand, the NFL said, "Hey, this is going to be a little too expensive." On the NFLPA said, "Hey, don't worry about it. We don't want this." So blame to go on both ends. And the NFL's argument is, look, we did everything we could. The protocols work. You guys violated those protocols. That's not on us. That's on you. Why should we punish the league? No, we're going to punish the team. That's the NFL stance, and they have a very valid stance on that. The Raiders had an event, weren't wearing masks properly. Stephon Gilmore and Cam Newton, they had dinner together. Now, look, it's not a crime to have a dinner with your teammate, but you got to know the times you're living in. Situational football, situational life. Okay, that's just the way it goes. And then with the Tennessee Titans, as I just highlighted, just all sorts of recklessness on their part in terms of following the protocol. That's where we're at. The week 18 is becoming more and more likely now, especially because we got the Bills Titans game on Tuesday, and then that Thursday game between the Bills and the Chiefs moves to Saturday. So we got Bills Titans Tuesday, Bills Chiefs Saturday, Monday we got Patriots Broncos. So that's the way it's going to go. The 16 game model, the 256 game model has not collapsed as of yet. And I'm still optimistic because I feel if the NFL hands down a very severe punishment on the Titans, it's gonna cool itself down. We'll still see positive tests, and certainly we keep all those players in our prayers. Bars, shout out Worldwide Les. Um, we'll get through a season. So let's leave it at that. I don't like doing this, but I feel like this is information that just people need to know. And there's just an overwhelming information that comes in through social media, through the TV, and I'm just trying to give it to you in the most condensed fashion. And so I hope I did that without overwhelming you. Let's move on because I just took up a third of our show. Um, let's jump right into it. Let's jump right into it, Vic. I'm not sure where Germ went, but I'm sure he'll be back soon enough. Brady versus Buccaneers. Tampa versus Chicago. Bears versus Bucs. And as we know it. So Tom Brady moved to Tampa, and there was a lot of this, that, and the other thing about what he can really do for this football team. Well, this is the Buccaneers are the worst have the worst winning percentage in all of professional American sports, literally. And now you're getting the guy who has the most wins of any player ever. And how is that going to happen? How is that going to collide with each other? Well, let me give you a few things. All his teammates praising him, saying from day one the energy was just different in the building. Cameron Brate was talking about how the first time, like at first they were in awe, then he became their teammate, and then one fateful day in training camp, guys didn't want to run back to the huddle, and they found out exactly who Tom Brady was. That's Cameron Brate's story. I'm just telling you what it is. And that's the first sign of it. Second sign of it, this man is playing positional coach for some of these guys, telling his receivers how to run routes, leverage this, that, and the other thing, breaking it all down A through Z. OJ Howard, he had a breakout game last week, and unfortunately he is injured. But man, you could definitely already see the improvement and more validating what we thought this kid could be coming out of Alabama. And then it's not just offense. This man is in defense meetings with cornerbacks, teaching them how to read offenses, how to read the quarterback, how to read receivers, how to read splits. I mean, the man is player and coach damn near, and that's not even an exaggeration. And just if it's not anything else, the Buccaneers were down 17 points on Sunday. In the 42 games prior in Buccaneers history, when they were down by 17 points, the Buccaneers are 0 and 42. They lost 42 straight games when being down 17 points or more. And the first time, as they call him, the comeback kid, as we call him now, the GOAT, was down 17 points. He walked the Chargers right down. So, Vic, let's start it off with you. Just give me your thoughts on the impact Brady has had on this time and this Buccaneers culture.
Yeah, I mean, it's been one of my arguments, and forever for as long as you guys know me. Uh, you have the Brady haters and the guys that believe Bill is the catalyst for the Patriots' success, and rightfully he has. Again, that's the best coach in the NFL. But Brady is not only like you said, a coach on and off the field, but he's also playing the position that's the most important in all of sports. So when you combine those two things together, I mean, it's to me is the most valuable. He has been the most valuable uh, uh, NFL player in history, and that's why we think he is one of the probably the best. So, um, and then you hear stories of him not only talking to the superstar of the team or the offense of the team, but also calling the 53rd player or the 56th player, communicating with everybody on the team, and at least developing some sort of relationship, asking about family, how the kids are doing, things like that. Like this dude is just an all-around person, and you just have to give credit and appreciate what that is. Um, in terms of all on the field, man, I feel like they haven't even reached their ceiling yet. I think that they're warming up, and you could tell in some situations where uh, even Mike Evans has beaten people deep. Brady has not decided to throw it his way. At times, throwing it to Scotty Miller's way. And then towards the end of that game last week, he threw a deep ball to Mike Evans. So I think there's a lot of things that are still developing between them, and that's scary because two notes that I looked up here, he has 11 passing touchdowns, which is tied through the first 4 games in Buccaneers history. Okay, so with a touchdown today, he would already be leading in a 5 game stretch for the Bucs as the most touchdowns, in a 5 game stretch in their history. And he also has 1,122 passing yards. And if he gets 250 passing yards against the Bears tonight, that's going to be the most. All right, passing Jameis Winston from last season in Bucs history. Okay, so for an offense that does not look like they're in sync yet, that's pretty scary. He's got those numbers already. So system quarterback or whatever you want to call him, man's doing his thing.
System quarterbacks. Lead that 2020 has been enough. If there's one positive we need to take out of 2020, lead that damn narrative in the past, Chief. Jern, what you got on this?
I mean, y'all have really put everything out there. The only thing I can really add to this is I just want to talk about the couple pieces on defense that I think are the most intriguing parts of this. This whole Bucks ride has been a lot of things about offense, but the defense has done an excellent job in certain stretches and situations as well. So we're talking about the secondary improving, Sean Murphy Bunting improving. As I said last year, he made the 22 last year. Make sure y'all go and check out those blogs. The True 22, 22 best football players of whatever week. Moving forward, there's just Bunting Murphy. Murphy Bunting has improved every week.
Hmm.
You got
Carlton
James
Davis.
Dean, Carlton Davis. The rookie Antoine Winfield has been a godsend because his
Hmm.
versatility allows him to do a lot of things in that secondary. Keeper Shaquille Barrett, who's on a franchise tag this year, playing for big money. JPP, say what you want about him, but he's been valuable. And those two guys on the defensive line that are the most two of the most dominant players that we have against the run right now, and Ndamukong Suh and Vita Vaya. I just think altogether, man, with the combination of those two fast linebackers in the middle, with Levante and Devin White, I think we got something here, man. This might be one of those teams that can make a deep run just because defensively they're going to be able to get pressure. They're going to be able to do different things, and they're going to be a matchup with just about anything you throw at them.
Yeah.
So I'm here for this. I'm here for it.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely. And also shout out Jordan Whitehead, the safety, who's playing up to his potential. He's showing us why we thought his ceiling was what it was. So absolutely, I'm with you. That defense, and we're going to talk about them a little bit later. That defense is definitely something to keep an eye on. Move on now. Let's go back. We talked about the quarterback. Let's talk about his favorite target, which is Mike Evans. And we talked about it extensively in the offseason, just what that could look like. And so far, what we got is Mike Evans has a touchdown in each game this season. And the one game, he literally had a stat line: 2 catches, 2 yards, 2 touchdowns. I don't know what else you want me to tell you. He is, no offense to Gronk, but Evans might actually be the best red zone threat Tom Brady has ever had. And that's scary, and you're already seeing what it's looking like. What we want to talk about here is the similarities and differences between the two premier pass catchers in this game tonight. And if this was 2012, we'd be talking about Jimmy Graham and Rob Gronkowski. Instead, we're talking about Allen Robinson and Mike Evans. We're going to start with Allen Robinson. To me, he's a guy, he uses his hands very well to create separation off the line of scrimmage, even at the top of the route. It's a skill um for a receiver and a corner to find ways to create separation at the top of the route using your hands as well. If the refs don't see it, guess what? You did a good job. If the refs see it, guess what? Get better at it. So he uses his hands really well to get separation. He uses his size and body position, and it's like watching a great rebounder in basketball. He uses that very well. And to me, the thing that makes him, because as Jerm was going to talk about with his athleticism and explosiveness, it's not as the same level as those other elite players. But where he excels at is those excellent routes that he runs. They're explosive in the way he doesn't do too many excess things. And to be honest with you fellas, Chicago is used to this because this guy is very much a comp to Alshon Jeffrey and Brandon Marshall before him. Different players, obviously, certain different strengths and weaknesses, but for the most part, that comp is they're very comparable to each other. Germ, what do you think about Robinson, and how does he compare, good or bad, to Mike Evans?
Well, you covered everything. Like I said, he's not the quickest guy. He's not any of those extracurricular things that you see from some of those smaller guys. Number one, because he's a bigger target. He's not elite when it comes to quickness. He's just elite with not wasting he's the no waste motion type of player. 50-50 balls become 70-30 balls because he's excellent at jumping and making sure that he has his body in position to get the football, to put his body in position to prevent careless interceptions from both Mitch and Foles. How you compare us to Mike Evans is really not a comparison. You got one guy that can win every way and another guy that wins his way. And
Mm.
I think that's the really key difference. When Mike Evans was in Texas A&M, biggest thing that Mike Evans was he had a lot of those instances when he played with Johnny where he was go get it. Now this is one of those instances where Brady has a target that he can say, "Hey, go get it." And if Mike Evans continues to track the football over his shoulder at the rate that he is doing, that is going to be a tough combination because you not only have to track him when it comes to if he beats you deep, but we also have to worry about the back shoulder throws.
Hmm.
We have to worry about him being able to adjust to the football and those type of things. So, I mean, I think two different types of receivers. We got a tier one talent, and then we got a tier two talent. The only reason why Allen Robinson's tier two is just because he doesn't have the foot quickness. Foot quickness is what separates those two big guys, and foot speed. So there you go.
And listen, you saying tier two, that's not an insult in any way, because the wide receiver position class in the NFL is deep. Me and Jay Ham always touch on this. Same with MJ and Ronnie. I've heard them say this as well. Shout out to the 94 Feet of Life crew. Um, the wide receiver position is like the point guard position in basketball. It's just so deep, and certain guys just are better than other guys, and that's not a knock on anybody. It's just the way it is. Vic, what you got on this?
Yeah. Y'all know that I've done a lot of film studying on Mike Evans. It's kind of been a while since I've done some film studies on Allen Robinson. I kind of go off of what I see from the film and stuff like that. I do remember him in college, Penn State, if I'm not mistaken, Germ,
Yep.
is where he
Yep.
came from. Yeah, so I mean, I think the only similarities you really see with them is, like Germ said, when it comes to Robinson, 70-30 balls. He's one of those guys that knows how to use his body and put himself in position to get the ball. Other than that, um, Mike Evans is somebody that can beat you with route running, can beat you, and I'm talking about just strictly deep right now, route running, physical ability, or he can run past you. All right. So he's got the stride length. He's got the speed to run past you. He's also very physical with his hands and his arms. He likes to club people away. And he also can beat you with nice, precise routes. As his career has progressed, you see a guy that's not only used deep outside the numbers, but now they're using him in the slot. He's running in routes. He's running slants. He's running a lot of stop routes. The kid has become a phenomenal receiver. I think he's been overlooked for the situation that he was in before, being in Tampa Bay and being with quarterbacks that are a little bit more reckless. Now you got with Tom Brady, where in the next 2 years we should be able to see a guy that can, reach elite level status when it comes to being an all-around receiver. Like Mo said, he already got 4 touchdowns throughout the season. I predicted about 18 for him, so I still think that he can get it. So some people got upset when I compared him to Randy Moss, but to me, this is like a remastered Randy Moss in terms of how physical he can beat you, and also with route running and stuff like that. It's gonna be fun to see if they can get really lock on soon, and I think that they can start this week. He is playing with a hamstring injury, but we'll see them this week against the Bears, and we'll get into the offensive lines and stuff like that. But that's gonna be an important part to see how this Bucs offensive line can protect Brady today. You muted, Papa. You muted.
Yeah. My bad. And that's a great segue to what we're going to talk about next. But what I want to just touch on real quick before we move on, you said something very key about guys getting upset about you comparing him to Randy Moss. Look, you gotta we here at the scene, from Views to 94 to Petty in the Outfield to Stoppage Time FC, we give credit a lot to the older guys. We give credit to the guys who paved the way, right? But it doesn't mean that we can't say this guy is compared to that guy, because what we've learned is that a lot of these older athletes, what we get from these fans is a mythological creature of who they were as players, because all we got is highlights. We don't have the 22 to filter through the dirt, to filter through the diamonds in the dirt. And so don't keep hitting us with this, oh, well, you were too young. All right, you too stubborn to evolve. It goes both ways. These players today can very easily be just as good as your favorite player that you had on your poster on your wall when you were 12 years old. Let's move on to the offensive line. Let's move on to the beef. Shout out to everybody in the comments. The beef matchup in this game is very intriguing, fellas.
Yes.
Very intriguing. Yes. Because on the one hand, you got the Bucs. The strength of their offensive line is the interior. Ali Marpet, Ryan Jensen, and Alex Kappa from left guard to right guard. The Bears, the strength of their pass rush is on the edge. Yes, they got Akeem Hicks, but on that edge, they got Khalil Truck Mack. Yes, I said Truck Mack. And the mighty Robert Quinn, as the fellas refer to him as. So it's a very, very intriguing matchup. Vic, we're gonna start with you on some guys, but I want to give for the Buccaneers offensive line before you get into them, because they're not as known as Akeem Hicks, Robert Quinn, and Khalil Mack. I just want to give one word to all 5 starters from right tackle to left tackle. Tristan Wirfs, first round pick, rookie, future Hall of Famer. Alex Kappa, the right guard, technician. The center, Ryan Jensen, athlete. The left guard, Ali Marpet, their best offensive lineman right now, nasty. Donovan Smith, the left tackle, Mr. Protect Your Blind Side, frustrating. Vic, let's start with you on that.
I mean, bro, there's so many ways to start. Like first, you mentioned Akeem Hicks, you mentioned Robert Quinn, and you mentioned Khalil Mack. But Bilal Nichols, defensive lineman, I never heard of this guy. But from the little bit that I saw on film yesterday and today, he was giving the Colts some problems too. So now you got 4 guys on that defensive line that can give these guys some issue up front. Again, the Bucs offensive line has improved. The draft pick of Tristan Wirfs, tremendous pick, something that they needed to do, especially to protect the quarterback like Brady that stands in the pocket. So I don't even know which matchup, bro. Like honestly, I think all 5 of them against them 4 is gonna be fun to watch. You did in the pregame meeting talk about how you're concerned with Tristan Wirfs were like when they bull rush him, and I saw a little bit of how Joey Bosa and those guys last week were able to take him back. Now this is a kid with a very strong lower body, but if he gets caught out of position, meaning he's leaning back as opposed to keeping his weight forward, he will be taken back into the quarterback. So Khalil Mack is one of those guys that when he rushes the passer, man, like you don't know what he's gonna come with. He could suddenly he can go upfield, cut in, but all of a sudden he can just bull rush you at the same time too. So that's going to be a fun matchup to watch. But of course, like you said, Donovan Smith, left tackle, the most important position on that offensive line, frustrating. Robert Quinn could have a field day with him if they don't give him anybody to help, and that's Rob Gronkowski. That's why I think Rob might be blocking a little bit more in today's game.
Germ, what you got on this?
Well, the only thing that we need to discuss really here is the key to this game is really the fact that the Bucs can run the football. As long as you're able to run the football against this Bears team, one down out of every 5 downs, you're going to be in a good position. You don't need to do much against this team because the one thing about this Bears defense is they can be touched. Just because they got some good players, that doesn't mean anything. We've seen Brady with worse offensive line talent, and he's given the Bears some issues. So this right here is one of those instances where run the football early, run it often, set up your play action. Also, Mike Evans should take it easy this game. We don't need to beat people, down the field as much as we needed to beat them. We just need to catch our slants and our quick routes, and we need to catch the ball, get our 10, 12 yards, and get down. Get up and do it again.
Mhm.
Methodically beat this team because you got a quarterback on the other side that is going to he's going to have a struggle game.
Mhm.
This is what it is.
I think just to piggyback off of what Vic said,
Mm.
with Tristan Wirfs, I'm hoping Khalil Mack wants to get in that hand fighting game with him because I think that'll bode better for Tristan Wirfs. Like you talked about that extremely very strong lower body. He can anchor down and regain his balance. That was perfectly broken down by you. And then on the other side, Donovan just look when he gets that first step right, when his first step is right and he gets off the line quick, he's a completely different player. His fundamentals are better, his body language is better, everything is just better. But once that first step is a miss, the shoulders are just dropping, the hands are not going up, the butt is going back way too much. It just there's a lot that ends up happening that just doesn't look good. And every single day, I mean every single week, every single game, there's been a ball that Brady wants to do a quick throw to the left and it gets batted down. And that needs to stop. That needs to improve. And that's Donovan Smith. He needs to understand, don't let them come to you. Go get them. The great left
Yes.
tackles, go get them. They don't wait for you to come to them. Unless you Tyrone Smith and you can just mentally abuse people and say, nah, I'm gonna come, you come to me this time. I've been coming to you all game. But you're not Tyrone Smith yet. You same last name, far from the same player. So that fellas, that was an excellent boom, boom, boom. We covered a lot. Let's just go 2 to 3 minute breakdown. Mike Evans is starting. Leonard Fournette is active. LaShawn McCoy out. Chris Godwin out, Scotty Miller in, and obviously OJ Howard, he's done for the year. So what that means to me is it's not Gronk time just yet. Okay. It's not Gronk time just yet. It's week 5. Maybe he'll get some more targets, but this is an interesting matchup for him with Roquan Smith and Danny Trevathan. And one thing I'm gonna say about this Bears defense, they got linebackers that Tom Brady has to respect. If Tom Brady doesn't respect your linebackers, it is going to be a long day for your defense, no matter what. We could show some plays, put them up in the group, put them up on Twitter, even put it up on the YouTube. He disrespected the Chargers linebackers about 4 or 5 times in that game. He just looked at them and said, "Hey, monkey in the middle. Let's just play monkey in the middle." And it was just unbelievable. Vic, get in on this. Just give me your final thoughts on this game and predictions.
Yeah, no, just a couple notes. Real quick, the Bucks rushing offense is 26th in the league right now, versus the Bears, who are 11th against the rush. So that's going to be a key matchup right there. But also a very key matchup, like right. So like Germ said, this is a kind of a bend but don't break defense. The Bears are 37th in the league in touchdown conversion rate, meaning that every time they're in the red zone, they only give up 37% of the time they give up a touchdown. The Bucs, on the other hand, are second overall in touchdown conversion rate at 80% offensively. So those are two things to watch right there. You have a really good red zone offense against a really good red zone defense. We're gonna see how, like, basically that's gonna be the points there. Are the Bucs gonna be able to score 30 points like they've been scoring? It's gonna determine there in the red zone. So other than that, I think that Carlton Davis, another key matchup against Allen Robinson. If the Bears are able to get David Montgomery going, which they need to give him as many carries as they can. That'll open it up for Allen Robinson a little bit. Let's see how Carlton Davis and see how he's progressed, along with Sean Bunting that Germ talked about. See how they progress in terms of covering probably the best receiver they're gonna see this season so far. No disrespect to Keenan Allen.
No, none at all, none at all. And Allen is, we talked about him, but the two corners for Carlton Davis and Kyle Fuller, I think Kyle is like number 2 and number 3 in completion percentage, and Carlton is I think he's very high up there as well. He's been graded high by PFF for whatever that means, but the advanced analytics, the completion percentage, yards per completion, targets per game, all that, Carlton Davis has very much improved. Germ, final thoughts. Vic, did you make a prediction?
No, not yet. Not yet.
Okay, we'll wait on you.
Let's do that after Germ real quick.
Okay, Germ. I don't know why. Germ, prediction and final thoughts on this game, please.
No final thoughts. Just a prediction. Give me the Bucs tonight. I think the Bucs win. We're just gonna start this week off with a win. Go ahead and just book it. Bucs tonight. 27. No, 31. 13.
Okay. 31-13. Look, for me, we pretty much covered it all. This game is going to come down to how well Nick Foles plays. That's just the bottom line with it. We know who Nick Foles is, and I mean it when I say all Nick Foles ever done, outside of 27-2 or whatever it was with Chip Kelly, all he's ever done is play the 7 best quarterbacks at the best possible time, the 7 best quarters at the best possible time. That's all he did. Vikings from quarter 2, 3, and 4 in the NFC Championship game when it was, I think, 38-7 the final score, and then that Super Bowl against New England where he was just completing everything that he threw, and most of that is because he had about 5 seconds to throw, and they didn't have enough guys to cover because Malcolm Butler was benched. Yes, I'm still bitter. We know who Nick Foles is, though. Like, his feet are usually going to be in the proper place. His anticipation, I don't know, 4 out of 5, 4.4 out of 5. His anticipation is above average, to say the least. But where you go wrong with him is he's just inconsistent. And if you notice, the one thing we talk about when it comes to quarterbacks, it's consistent. We got IQ, accuracy, and then not far after that, you're going to hear us talk about consistency, because that's just what it comes down to at this position, especially in today's league, when you're going to have games where you just throw 300 yards from throwing 10 to 15 flats and screens and little hooks. That's just the way it goes, right? Mm-hmm. Where he goes wrong is the inconsistency with his accuracy, and it can be inconsistent on just the most simple routes, out routes, little curl routes. Just simple routes could be turned into very wild throws. And then where he goes wrong again, the second big flaw that he has, when he's not seeing the football field, he forces a lot of his passes, and that's what gets him in trouble. And if I had to give you the best and the worst, yes, I'm giving you a scouting report on Nick Foles. If I had to give you the best and worst trait on Nick Foles, his best trait is he allows his receivers to make a play. His worst trait, he relies way too heavily on his receivers making plays. If you look at those playoff runs, if you look at pretty much his whole career, it's just a highlight reel for wide receivers. And so this game, yes, the offensive line versus the defensive line is crucial. Yes, Mike Evans versus Fuller and Allen Robinson versus Carlton Davis is crucial. Yes, how they cover Cameron Brate and Rob Gronkowski is crucial. All those things are crucial. It's a game that's going to be won by everybody executing in all three phases. But what it's ultimately going to come down to is how well does Nick Foles play? I'm picking Todd Bowles over Nick Foles. So give me the Buccaneers because I think this defense, once again, that is spectacular, is going to do enough and it's going to force some turnovers and it's going to hit Nick Foles a few times. Give me the Buccaneers 28-17. Vic, score,
Yeah,
please,
I think
sir.
ultimately, like you said, that this Bears defense is going to be a tough matchup for this offensive line. But overall, like when you take the whole thing into perspective, the Tampa Bay defense can hold their own themselves too, and they can easily hold this offense to very low scoring opportunities. The Bears again need to get David Montgomery going. That'll definitely help Nick Foles. I don't think they'll be able to do that because again, the Tampa rush defense is just as good as their pass defense. I'll take the Bucs in this game. I don't think they'll hit 30 this week. I think it'll be 24. I'll go 24-13 Bucs.
Jerm, what was your score?
31-13.
And I got it 28-17. Before we close this show out, we got an early fantasy question. Question submitted by Worldwide Lester Stewart from 94 Feet of Life. He sent me a screenshot. He's got McCole Hardman right now in the flex, but he wants to know what he should do. Should he sub him out and put in Raheem Mostert, Duke Johnson, or Rob Gronkowski? Germ?
Uh,
Just throw something out. Should he stick with Hardman or should he put one of those three in?
We got 10 minutes.
if you stick with Hardman, Hardman is an all-purpose guy. So I would stick with Hardman.
Vic?
I'll go with Mostert.
So no Gronk.
No Gronk. Not
There
today.
you go, Les. So you got
Wait,
3 more
is
days
Mostert
to figure out what you want to
Mostert
do.
for sure playing?
No, he's questionable right now. So Vic, the bottom line is he doesn't have to put in Gronkowski. So if you're watching this and you're trying to figure out if I should put in Rob Gronkowski or not this week. Now we're not saying he's not going to catch some balls and he might not. I don't think about a touchdown. He might catch some balls, but this is still not the week to start Rob Gronkowski. Thank y'all for tuning in. We hope you enjoyed it. Make sure you subscribe to the scene because we are slowly changing everyone's narratives about how to think about sports. 94 Feet of Life, The Dish, Stoppage Time FC, Views from the 22. We will see y'all tomorrow.